The Imagine More Success radio show is the all about you show with successful entrepreneurs and business experts sharing their stories and powerful takeaways while providing you with the tips, tools, and tactics to help you thrive. And every single week, we bring you a free weekly gift. Your hosts for the Imagine More Success radio show are the best-selling authors Cindy Hendricks, who's a certified business consultant, and Thomas Hyde's a certified world-class public speaking coach. Check out the Imagine More Success radio show at imaginemoresuccess.net because now is the time for you to realize your dreams and to imagine more success. Welcome again this week to the Imagine More Success radio show. We're so happy that you could join us, and we look forward to bringing you some really fantastic content today. We've got some real heavy hitters coming in today. We're going to call this the heavy hitters edition of the Imagine More Success radio show. We're going to be bringing on Larry and Taylor Thompson, who are literally at the very top of network marketing. And we're going to have a really fun interview with them today. We're going to bring you an interview today that's going to inspire you and going to lead you in a direction of your dreams, which is what Imagine More Success is all about. Cindy, I know that you have a lot of passion around helping people to realize their dreams and to change the way they think and to help them improve their self-esteem and their self-confidence. What do you think about who we're interviewing today?
Well, I think that our people that are on board with us today, our guests, Taylor and Larry, are really encompassing everything that is important to me, not just helping people to harness what's going on with them personally and to be able to do what they want to do professionally, but also the health piece, because I know you know that I'm a health junkie and want to make sure I stay that way as I age. And so I'm really looking forward to their secrets and their tips, because I take at least a dozen nutritionals and vitamins myself. So, awesome. And I know you do, because, you know, you can't stay youthful looking if you don't do that.
Very true. Youthful looking and youthful doing, for sure.
And youthful thinking.
Absolutely. I want to take a moment and introduce our guest today. Taylor Thompson graduated from ASU with a double degree in business administration, kinesiology, but her big work that she is well known for, where she is both an international speaker and author and teacher and coach, is in network marketing within the ranks of Herbalife International, where she began. She continued to accomplish her business goals while she was working from home, while being a mother of 3 beautiful daughters. That's something that if you're listening today and you feel like you don't know what to do, but you're a stay-at-home mom, this is going to be a great show for you. Her experiences and instincts have really translated into developing many successful training strategies for multinational companies in places such as the U.S., Europe, and Asia. We're also talking with her husband today, Larry Thompson, who is named by the Wall Street Journal as the architect of wealth building. He has over 50 years of experience in the direct selling and network marketing industry, and he is the creator of the Millionaire training concepts, which is being taught globally in nearly every single network marketing motivational seminar over the past 30 years. They've got an amazing wealth building academy that we're going to be talking about today, as well as a new book called the Millionaire Training, which I'm excited to talk about. So let's go ahead and welcome our guests onto the show today, Larry and Taylor. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, glad to be here, guys.
Oh, very cool. You know, both of you have a really tremendous story about how you began in the network marketing business. Larry, if you want to start, tell us a little bit about how you got started.
Yeah, listen, I've told it so much, I love it myself, you know. But
I do too.
It goes back almost 53 years ago, guys, and it was something that was the farthest thing it never crossed my mind to be in business or sales. I was in construction work, and I never finished high school. I quit school at 16 because I was too shy to give the oral book report that was required back then. And I wasn't going to pass English. So at 16, I quit school and went to work and construction field. And I loved it. I got to work with my family, my mom, my dad, my brothers, my cousins, my uncles, all of that. And I enjoyed it thoroughly. And it never occurred to me to do anything different until I got that fateful phone call almost 53 years ago. And it was something that was quite different for me, because it was about 6:45 at night that I got this phone call. And it was from a fellow construction worker by the name of Mike Fuller. and Mike was a little bit older than the team that we work with, and he had a couple of houses and that he rented out and stuff. So I was always impressed with that. But I really was impressed because he had money for the lunch truck on Thursday and borrowing from him. But he called me up and said, "Hey, listen, I've got something here that you may or may not be interested in," that kind of deal. And I wasn't interested in it because I was very happy with what I was doing. But when he told me it was going to be there was going to be a business meeting, and it was going to be held at the Hyatt Hotel in San Jose, California, at that weird intersection of First Street and 101, I was excited. I wanted to go immediately because I had never been in a hotel in my entire life. And I used to drive by there doing construction work. And, they had that porte cochere where you drive your car underneath there and they open your doors. That was so exciting. It was a big deal to me. And so when he told me it was there, I said, "Sure, I want to go." And I said, "But call me back in 10, 15 minutes and we'll confirm up." And the only reason I had him do that, I was a long-haired hippie construction worker. And I was having a bad hair day. And if I was going to go to my first hotel, I wanted to look as good as I possibly could. So I figured I could put it together. But I went down there that night, and two very significant things happened for me. It was just the way that fate works and the universe works, because there were two people at that meeting that absolutely not only changed my life, but they changed the entire direct sales field forever. And one of them was Bobby Depew. Bobby Depew was the person given the meeting, and he was a very frail man, about 5'9", 160, 70 pounds. He used to be a school teacher, but he had this amazing ability to communicate in this very soft way. And that wasn't intimidating for me because I was way out of place at this meeting. Because you got to understand, the people at that meeting, they'd heard of hippies, but they hadn't seen one. And here I am at this meeting, and it was like you have your negative brother-in-law finally come to the meeting, and is an accountant and a lawyer, and he's negative. And here comes the homeless man in with his cart, with his tent, speaking in today's terms. And nobody wanted me at that meeting. But it was something special for me because Bobby made me feel like he was talking. I was the only one in the room. And at the end of the meeting, he said something that really made me sit up in my chair. He said, this is, by the way, after I'd already identified with him and I liked him and I liked how he was communicating. When he said this is what pushed me across the line. He said, "It's obvious that you can tell that we're making a lot of money here." And he said, "I'd like to promise all of you that you can make this money, but I can't. But I can promise you that we are, and I can promise you if it only turns out 10% for you, what it's turned out for us, it's going to be the greatest thing that ever happened to you." And me, as a long-haired hippie construction worker, never finished high school, I bought in. I bought in. I gave away the 90% immediately. I said, maybe, just maybe 10% could fit me here. And that was what kind of pushed me across the board for the opportunity. But the second thing that happened that night was a second gentleman that I didn't meet that night. I met him 3 weeks later, was there as a guest, just like me. And we both joined the same company the same night in May of 1968. And that was Mr. Jim Rohn. Most of this audience will probably know Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn, he came in and very quickly became the vice president of sales. And Bobby and Jim wrapped their arms around me as this outcast, because most everybody in the business were three-piece suits, cigar smoking, whiskey drinking, white shoe, Cadillac driving environment. And so nobody wanted me around, so they figured they'd make an example out of me. But it took me a few years to figure out what they saw in me to take that interest in me. But I understand it now. I've understood it for a number of years. They saw that I had that desire and that willingness and that humbleness, but they saw that, I was teachable. And they had a very important reason they wanted me to succeed, because if they could get someone like me to succeed, then they could always put me in front of them. And I didn't realize that's what was going on at that point, but it was just phenomenal. And I was able to work with Bobby and Jim. No one spent more personal time or stage time with Jim Rohn than myself. And I brought him into Herbalife in 1985 to be able to help us out with that project. And I was able to work with both of these gentlemen to their passing, and we were involved with each other's family. And it was just, I was very, very honored, shocked, stunned to have this kind of exposure.
Well, who could lose with Jim Rohn? He is I wish they would have made more videos of that man. He's so motivational.
Yes, because he's got that way of sharing with people that believing that they can believe in them, making them believe in themselves. And he's not very, very soft spoken, as you well know. And both him and Bobby were very soft spoken, and that was great for me. Wonderful. I wouldn't be here without him at all.
I met him in the 70s.
Really?
As a young kid looking for my place in the world, and I was just so taken in by him. Of course, Earl Nightingale's my favorite guy, and Jim Rowan right behind him. But when you're young and you're looking for direction, those kind of guys are just the way. They're just the way.
Yeah, you count your blessings to be around people like that.
Exactly. Well, you were very fortunate. That's amazing.
Yes.
Great story. It's kind of like falling in your first day of basketball practice and ending up having Michael Jordan as your mentor. I mean, and as a teammate of yours. That's pretty amazing. Taylor, I love your story as well.
That's important too.
Taylor, tell us a little bit about your story as well, about your transformation.
So interestingly enough, how our connection actually happened. I started 28 years ago in this industry. I was, educated, obviously, I mean, from what you read in your introduction, but whenever, I think change perspective happens immediately once you hold that baby in your arms for the very first time and look in those baby blues. My whole reason for my why completely changed. And at that point, I was looking for mom care versus daycare. I was looking for a way for me to make an extra $800 a month. And I felt like that was equivalent to me working full time and paying for childcare. And at that time, you think about 28 years ago, there was not a lot of network marketing opportunities, but there was. I started answering ads in the newspaper, where you stuff envelopes and there was all sorts of make jewelry and all sorts of craziness.
Sure.
Listening today may not even know what a newspaper is or an ad in the newspaper, but it was very interesting. But I always say that people do things for two reasons, and it's through inspiration or desperation. And I was so desperate to have that mom care versus daycare. And I was very fortunate. I was very blessed to come upon, I started my journey in Herbalife. I started it from answering an ad in the newspaper. And what was interesting for me is I connected to Larry's first meeting, and that was I was born and raised in West Texas, and there was this couple that they were telling about. They told me a story, and to this day, I'm very passionate about stories and people's backgrounds because it was the reason why I came in. And they told me about this couple in this little bitty town in West Texas that was making like $10,000 a month. But I never done business before. I never saw myself, making that kind of money ever. But I did see myself, wow, if they could make that kind of money, surely I could make $800. And that's what got me started. And inside, I signed up, I got my distributor pack. And inside that distributor pack were these amazing audio training cassettes called the Millionaire Training. And so I was very blessed to be brought up in this learning teaching environment the way I call it is this incubator process. And my very first month, I made $2,400, and I didn't really know much of anything, but I learned a handful of things through this training and through this environment. And so, interestingly enough, my upline, so her name was Tish Rosheen. Tish Rosheen was the very first Herbalife distributor in the state of Texas. Tish Rosheen.
Taylor, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we want to continue this story about how you and Larry met, how you've found yourself on this amazing journey. And if you're listening today, I want you to come back because we're going to learn some really incredible secrets to how you can change your life, especially for the people at home who find themselves stuck at home all the time in this new world that we're living in. So please stay tuned to the Imagine More Success radio show. Welcome back to the Imagine More Success radio show with Cindy and Thomas. We're so glad that you could join us today. We've been having a really fun and interesting conversation with Taylor and Larry Thompson. We've been talking about, in the first segment, we really got into a little bit of the story of how their lives began in network marketing. For you, if you're listening today, network marketing is often something that is considered a dirty word sometimes, but I just want to encourage you to open your mind and to continue to listen, because there's going to be some really great learning that's going to go on today and some real light bulb moments, because we're talking with two people who have really found a tremendous amount of success within network marketing and are truly pioneers and leaders in the field. In our previous segment, just when we ended, we were talking with Taylor about how she was a single mom. She had 3 children and really wanted that opportunity to maybe just make $800 a month. And in her first month, found herself making over $2,000. And how that was able to not only change her financial outlook, but to really change her life and give her an opportunity to connect with her family and to connect with her children the way that she wanted to, rather than being forced to go out to work and not participate in her kids' lives the way that she wanted. So we want to welcome Taylor back to the show. Taylor, continue with that part of your story, because it's a really wonderful story, and I think it's very timely for people who are in a position that they were not expecting to be in as little as a year ago today.
Yeah, I think even like 28 years ago, I mean, it could be the same scenario now in today's world. I mean, because there are moms still out there, that would love to have mom care versus daycare, right? So, I mean, for me, it's just, how do you get introduced to it? And I love what you said about, having your mind open. I know that whenever I started answering those initial ads in the newspaper, I had a preconceived idea, because, they were, I had answered 2 or 3 different Herbalife ads, but I was like, I'm not interested in selling anything, and I think that that's a preconceived idea that most people had. And after walking through a couple of landmines, if you will, of scams and schemes of stuffing envelopes and making beaded jewelry and actually processing goat hair out of my bathtub, if you can. I know that sounds so funny now.
Oh.
But, they conned me into believing that I could make doll's hair out of this goat hair that was literally shaved directly off the goat that I was trying to clean and process in my own very bathtub. I mean, it sounds incredibly funny now, but again, I was at the point of desperation, right? And so, yes. But I think as you go through things, and as I answered that ad that got me in, whenever I heard the story, and I think I heard with a different set of ears after, going through lots of speed bumps, that my mind did become open to the possibilities of the what ifs. And I'm so thankful and blessed that I did, that I took a chance on myself, and I took a chance on the opportunity. My life has never been the same, but I came into this environment, this incubator type of environment, that took a mom like me who didn't know anything about business to learn a handful of things and be able to implement it and be able to never have to work outside the home. But as I was telling you, that my upline, my sponsor, she was the first Herbalife distributor in the state of Texas. She was known as the lady truck driver, and she happened to be Larry's sister. Now, Larry wasn't an Herbalife at that time. He'd already left, but he was my mentor from afar for years and years and years. And so I would like to tell a little bit about the book and why this is so relevant right now, because this training, this audio cassette training that was inside of these distributor packs, and what I grew up with, what I was raised with, this was a training that had been recorded, yes, which was Larry's first training as a VP of sales. He was the strategist. He was the tactician that took Herbalife to its first $1 billion in sales. And at this very first meeting in February of 1981, and that was almost 40 years coming this February, you think about it, they were debating on whether they were going to spend the $150 to record it. I mean, we're looking at technology.
Isn't that incredible?
On this, Skype, we've got recording devices that we carry around in our pocket and our purse, but it wasn't like that. There wasn't opportunities on every corner, but they they took this very first training, and fortunately they recorded it. And Mark Hughes, the founder of Herbalife, he wanted to call it the Millionaire Training, and therefore it was deemed, Tish, as Larry's sister, she was sitting in that room whenever it was recorded. And so, you think about the training and the people that had went on to use this training, and we have 18 different contributors that are inside this book. And these contributors that are inside the book, we'll call it the social proofing aspect of this, because these were all people that grew up with Herbalife, because there was no, at that time, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, there was not, a coach on every corner. There was no internet. There was no social media. There was no other ways for people to learn concepts, to learn how to sell, or to how to be in business for yourself. And so like we'll have Jeff Roberti. He's one of the contributors in the book. And in network marketing, he's known as the $100 million man, but he started with Larry as a broke waiter. He came to a meeting as a broke waiter, and he started, and he learned these concepts. We have, Dan Stamen, who came with him, who actually is a co-founder of World Ventures, his own company now. They both came to the same meeting. We have Rolf Sorg, he was a German who started his company 26 years ago, who learned how to speak English, listening to Larry's audio training.
That's incredible.
Just did $1 billion in sales in 2019. So literally has mentored 2 different companies to over $1 billion in sales. And I share that with you to point out the fact that all of these distributors, they started out with Herbalife, but what happened in 1985, that we had the fake news, right? We had the FTC and the FDA coming after Herbalife because there was so many people's health that was being impacted incredibly, life-changing stories, and people making incredible money, and they didn't like that, and so they sued Herbalife. And long story short, they went from 100 million in sales to 3 million literally overnight, because even though they didn't lose the fight, they only had to change 16 words on their label. But what happened is that USA Today was claiming that Herbalife products were killing babies. And all these distributors, they lost their income because Herbalife lost 100,000 distributors literally overnight. And those sales went from 100 million a month to 3 million in that time frame. And so all of these distributors that started working with Larry, they took these briefcase of skills that they learned in the Millionaire Training, and they went to various companies and started it. And really, these are the shoulders that network marketing stand upon. So whenever we have, distributors from, we're talking about number 1, top 10 of their companies: Nu Skin, Prove It, Isogenics, Immunitech, Modere, Juice Plus, PM International. Whenever you look at all these different various companies, why were they successful? They were successful because they learned a handful of things. They learned a handful of principles, and they took that to the marketplace. So this is a part of not only Larry's legacy, and why it was important for this book to happen now, but this is their legacy as well, and what the contributions that they've made. But
when I take a look at this book that you're about to introduce here and talk about in just a few minutes, it reminds me a lot of the Napoleon Hill book, Think and Grow Rich, because it's interviews with the top performers. And in this particular book, this is really about top performers in network marketing. I have a quick question that I want to throw in, that I want to ask you, which is, let's have a quick discussion about what's the difference between marketing versus network marketing, and what are the advantages of network marketing?
Yeah, that's very great. The great question, but it's the right question, because what has happened is that before, if you were like me or Taylor or any of the contributors in the book, if you didn't have business experience or education or money or anything like that, about your only choice that you had to change your life was network marketing. Okay. And so that was it. But now more recently here, because of what's happened on the internet, there's been a whole bunch of opportunities that have opened up for different people. But the basic fundamentals of network marketing have been polluted with marketing principles. Okay. And I love how Taylor says it, that today what has been being taught over the last half a dozen years is that how to become a marketer before you become a network marketer. And that's a different skill. Okay, and how to create the blogs and the postings and the curiosities and the funnels and all of that. It works magically, okay? But it works, and there's been people over the last few years that have made more money in network marketing than any other time before, but it's less people doing that, because what happens is you got to learn the marketing skills before you learn the network marketing skills. And there's contradictions between those two. And so, if you can be able to blend those two together, the principles and the concepts of network marketing into the social media skills today, and be able to let the network marketing skills be the pedestal and let the social media skills be the delivery system.
The delivery. So Taylor and Larry, quick question for you. I've heard you both say that the fundamentals of network marketing don't change. My question is, do you then recommend that learning the concepts of network marketing first is the best solution, or the solution that you'd recommend?
I would certainly recommend that, because knowing the skills of network marketing doesn't matter, because social media has been with us since day one. Social media is just faster, quicker, better at contacting people. For me, I used to my social media platform used to be ripping pages out of the phone book and taking page 72 to 100 and doing handwritten postcards. Then it was posters on telephone poles. It was booklets. It was videos. It was fax broadcasts. It's always been with us. Okay, being how you contact people faster, quicker, better. And so if you know the fundamental skills, as the algorithms, I'll use that as an illustration, the ever fast changing algorithm world of social media, what people are doing today, a year ago, they were doing something different, and they'll be doing something different in a year from today. You got to build on the solid foundation of principles, using the Vince Lombardi example when he got with the Green Bay Packers. Gentlemen, he had the best of the best on the field. And he held up the football and said, gentlemen, this is a football. You've got to know the fundamental, and then as it changes, you'll be able to adapt and stay always current. That's why these guys in the book are not only successful, they're currently successful as number one or top 10 other companies currently.
Well, and we teach a principle that it's called the Thompson rule. And it's a concept that we teach that it's an 80, 15, and 5. That 80% of your people that come into your company as a network marketer will be like the Larrys, the long-haired hippie construction worker, the stay-at-home mom like me, somebody that's interested in just an extra $500 to $1,000 a month. And so whenever you understand that concept right there, then the way you bring people in is paramount as to how you bring them up. Whenever if let's just take Larry, for example, or even me, 28 years ago coming in, if you tried to teach me how to brand myself or blog or how to do a Facebook Live, I might not be here right now, because I had to have something that was really simple that I could do around my children, that was, I'll call it fun, simple, magical, right?
I like that. Fun, simple, and magical. Is that the core foundation for the Thompson principles?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
That's beautiful.
Because I want you to think about it. Whenever we make things complicated, when you think about marketing, here's the thing. There's a difference what we teach between a concept and principle versus a technique. So concepts and principles meet you where you are.
We're actually going to take a short break. When we come back, this is a fantastic conversation. When we come back, we're going to let you know a lot more about how you can begin to understand and learn some of these principles of network marketing and how you can incorporate them in your life, because it's been a fantastic conversation. Do stick around. We'll be back in just a moment on the Imagine More Success radio show. You're back, and thanks for joining us again on the Imagine More Success radio show. We've been having a wonderful conversation today with Larry and Taylor Thompson. We are talking about network marketing, how it has changed their lives, how it can change your life as well. And really, we're about to start talking about some of the how-tos as well as some of the things that are possible for you in your life when it comes to trying to create a different level of income for yourself, as well as exploring possibilities in your life that you may not have even known existed. And in our previous segment, we kind of ended up with Taylor talking about the difference between principles and techniques, specifically as they apply to network marketing or marketing in general. So take a moment, and if you want to, let's continue that conversation. It's fascinating.
Well, thank you. So, whenever you think about, like, especially like in a business setting such as network marketing, you know, most everybody says, tell me where to go, what to do, and what to say, right? They want to know exactly where do I go, tell me exactly what I say, and tell me exactly what to do. That's what they think they want. But the reality is because my personality is different than Larry's. You know, your personality is different than mine. If I tell you where to go, what to do, what to say, and you can't go there, do that, say that, then you start to believing you can't do this business. You think I'm not good enough. You think, well, if that's what it takes, then you rule yourself out. You discount yourself. So, but whenever I give you a concept or I give you a principle, now you can do it around your circumstances. You can do it around your personality, around who you are, your strengths or your weaknesses, and you do it, and you do it based around what is you versus what is me. Now I eliminate that self-sabotage. I eliminate that self-doubt. I eliminate that we'll call it a crutch or a way for somebody to avoid themselves of not being able to do this business in a duplicating type fashion. So if it's like, whenever we talk about principles meet you where you are. And what do I mean by that is that and without sounding sacrilegious, we like to use the Bible as an analogy, because if I read you a scripture today and it means something to you today, and then turn around and read the same scripture to you next week because you're different, you've had a different set of circumstances in your life in that moment, in that time, it will mean something completely different to you. So principles meet you where you are. Techniques will come and go, and they're ever changing. And that's what we're talking about from the marketing perspective, because whenever people come into network marketing today, it's 7 steps to 7 figures. It's 6 steps to success. Well, whenever people can't do it in that way or in that manner, it leaves them dead on the side of the road. They don't have the belief system that they can do it. So we teach a concept which we actually trademarked. It's called Use Talk Demo, where if you just use the products or service, you talk to people about what's happened with you and other people, and then you demonstrate that through the product or a video or a before and after picture, whatever that is. And it gives people a simple track to run on. And that's just one simple concept that we teach and use.
You know, I think that's really important to hit on. Can you state those points again? The
Use Talk Demo?
Use Talk Demo. Perfect. Yeah, that's an incredible, really great way of storytelling, communicating, and really coming from a place of authenticity, which I think a lot of people worry about whenever someone who isn't kind of a naturally born marketer enters into anything that has to do with marketing or selling a product or anything. That's a big disconnect. So to have those simple principles in place, I think is incredible.
Yeah, most people, when they get started in network marketing, using this illustration, they don't think they're young enough, or they don't think they're old enough. They don't think they're tall enough or short enough. They don't think they're pretty enough or whatever. Okay. And so they always sell themselves short. And, you know, on page 110 of the book, for example, it's called name of that chapter is You're Good Enough As You Are Right Now. You don't have to change. You don't have to get taller. You don't have to get younger. You're good enough with the current skill level you have. And if you'll be able to take that, because we all are successful at doing something in our lives, and we're very good at it. If it be cleaning the house, washing the car, if it be taking care of the kids, we already have leadership skills. We just got to move them into this network marketing place that we're at. And if it is fun, simple, magical, because who can use the product? Anybody. Who can tell their results and other people's results? Anybody. And who can show that by virtue of a picture or some kind of video or something? Anybody. And if that's what the real essence is, use, talk, demo. And you don't have to know a whole lot after that. And I know it's simplification here is what I'm talking about, but simplification is how you grow. And a lot of in our space, we talk about you got to duplicate.
Well, I want to just take a moment also and just speak directly to whoever's listening today. If you're at home or wherever you are today, if you're listening and you feel like you don't have the skills or the training or the whatever it is that you think it is that's holding you back from getting where you want to go, really want you to take a moment and leave that behind and just imagine what's possible, because what's possible for you is significantly greater than you currently think. And a lot of the skills and tools that you have and that you possess, you just haven't valued them correctly yet. And you have a chance to take a look at who you are and to change the way that you value yourself and then apply it into something that can really help change your life.
Very well stated. Very well stated.
I love the way you position that. I love the way you said that, because so many times I think whenever we're working with distributors, I think the biggest challenge of them moving forward and stepping out of the circle that they stand in is their lack of confidence and belief in themselves. And whenever I said, for instance, I mean, even Larry said it himself. I mean, like him being the long-haired hippie construction worker, he never saw that he could be different other than working on their hands and knees. But somebody saw something in him, and they saw it in him until he could see it in himself. And I think for me, that's where I think his gift is definitely that whenever he sees the waitress or the truck driver and giving them, the vision, painting the vision for them until they can catch hold of the vision and see it for themselves. Because we're raised in environments that we're not tall enough, we're not good enough, we're not, and so we default as humans that, especially in this, and this is so paramount in the marketing versus network marketing space, is because marketers will come in or you'll come into a network marketing company and they'll say, let's start your training. And then they want to train you. And so they think, oh, okay. And if they don't get off to a fast start, they think, okay, well, it's because I don't know enough. And so I need to learn more. And if I learn more, I'll be better. And if I learn more, I can do more. And so what happens is they continue to keep educating themselves and they default away from it, from being in activity or building a business, because they think, I don't know enough. I'm not short enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not good enough.
Do you know where else I've heard this? Someone's laughing. Cindy's laughing because Cindy is a huge proponent of that. Cindy is a huge proponent of doing. The people that she coaches and teaches, she is always focused on doing that. You don't have to know everything before you start doing something, before you take action. Dan Pena, the famous billionaire, same thing. He said, most people want to spend too much time knowing everything. And to get the results you want, you don't have to know everything. Taking action has a humongous amount of work in getting you where you want to be long before you know everything about it or before you master any single topic. And that kind of is where I want to take us into really something very exciting. We're going to be talking about your new book. You two have written an amazing book called The Millionaire Training, which is really about the golden principles that help to create the top network marketers of both yesterday and today. There's over 40 years of experience, maybe more like 50. And between the two of you, if we combine it together, we're looking at like 80 years of experience. Which sounds wild, right? So, but working with some of the top people within the networking field, The Millionaire Training, if you want to get your copy, which you might be ready to get it already, but if not, you're going to learn more about it, themillionairetraining.com. Taylor, take a moment and tell me a little bit about as being the wife of Larry, how did you feel once this book finally came to fruition?
Well, after I have convinced him, because Larry, he's very humble. He's very shy. He's still too shy to look at your eyes. I mean, in a public setting, right? I mean, I know him and who he is and what his heart is. But I think, for him, it had to be, why now? Would this book be relevant now? For me, it was very important for his legacy, and meaning the lives that he's impacted, this training, these concepts, these principles that he poured into these people, and what they did, and the ripple impact that it's had. I think the legacy of this is very, very, very important. And I think, but the timing of it is now more relevant than it's ever been, because of how the network marketing space has pulled away from principles. A lot of people are out there struggling. They're struggling trying to build a network marketing business on sand. They're trying to implement a technique without the foundation underneath them. They're trying to, and as you know, in marketing techniques, what techniques you use today on social media, they were different 6 months ago. They were different 1 year ago. They were different 2 years ago. And if you're constantly having to change your mode of operation to keep your business going, that's going to be frustrating. But if you can blend these two with the principles that are in the book. I mean, you think about it, like one of the principles I love in this book, how to employ yourself. How many entrepreneurs out there who have no idea how to employ themselves? They know what it's like to be an employee because they've had an employer, but how do you actually employ you, right? Most people wouldn't know how to ask themselves that question. Let's think about what would that look like? You guys, you're talking about imagination. One of the principles in there is, the projector, the mental projector. If you don't like your life today, how do you change that? You have to change the film and the projector. That plays into everything, and how you project in doing a business and running a business for yourself and being your own entrepreneur and being self-employed. That changes everything. How you see how you see other people, and how you see your business. I mean, most people don't understand any of that because they've never been taught those briefcase of skills.
Cindy and I talk about that, the mental projector as being, that same idea, that film in your mind, that movie in your mind. And, a big part of that we talk about and we talk about all the time is that idea that so many people haven't given themselves a permission to see themselves as someone different yet. They feel they actually don't feel trapped in, but they are mentally trapped into a very specific space. And sometimes it's just like taking the lid off the jar. Like, you don't know what's going to pop out, right? It's like you really have to, it's like a jack in the box, I guess. But it's one of those things where when you give yourself the permission to look at yourself totally differently and to see what's possible is significantly greater than you could ever imagine. And we're going to actually talk in the next segment about how you can develop a gold mine attitude. We're going to learn exactly what that is, how that's going to work for you. We're going to talk as well about some of the psychology of the sale, which is something that's relevant that you can use in any part of your life today. We're going to continue the conversation with Larry and Taylor Thompson about network marketing and about how you can become a part of that field, especially in a time like now when network marketing makes more sense than ever. So if you would please stay tuned with us, we'll be back in a couple of minutes. And if you want to check out some past episodes of the Imagine More Success radio show, go to imaginemoresuccess.net, where you can find some really wonderful free gifts from every single episode and amazing information, tips, tools, and tactics. Please stay tuned. are back with the Imagine More Success radio show with Cindy and Thomas. In our first three segments, we've been having some really wonderful in-depth storytelling from Larry and Taylor Thompson, who are pioneers and vanguards of the network marketing field. We actually are talking about their new book called The Millionaire Training, which is a book about the golden principles that created the top network marketers of both yesterday and today. And in our previous segment, we've been talking about how timely this book is right now. And I'm really glad that you guys are here with us today, because I definitely would agree with that. It really seems that for so many people, a network marketing opportunity and the opportunity of creating your own business and creating your own pathway in life just is an amazing idea for a lot of people. And a lot of people are finding themselves almost being forced to have to look at alternatives to getting up and going to their 9-to-5 grind every single day. So I want to take a moment and hit on the concept of the gold mine attitude, which is one of the principles in your book. Larry, take a moment and tell us about what exactly the gold mine attitude is and how it can affect someone very positively today.
In today's language, you would call the land of abundance. Okay, there's plenty enough for everybody. And that's what we got to realize, and it isn't dependent upon exactly what happens to me today as far as results of being negative results or not any results at all. There's a land of abundance. It's out there. All we got to know is there's value in the marketplace. And if you bring value to the marketplace, you're always going to get paid for that value. It's always going to happen. And there's been a big push in the last really half a dozen plus years of personal growth to be able to be successful in our space. You got to grow more. That's an appealing thing, especially with all the coaches and the mentors that you have out there today. That's a very appealing thing because people want to learn more. People want to be as educated as they possibly can. But in our space, you don't learn more. You gotta do more to learn more. For example, you can take Arnold Schwarzenegger, been Mr. Universe 6, 7 times, whatever it's been, all his books and all his videos, and you can be personally trained by Arnold. But guess what's going to happen? Okay, at the end of the day, I don't care what his videos are, how good they are, or how good his books are. You got to go to the gym and you got to lift the weights. Okay,
you're get under that iron.
There's not that much difference between an amateur at the gym than there is Arnold. He knows more about eating. He knows more about little bitty things. But the overall concept is you got to lift the weights. And that's what you got to do. So that push that's been come on in our space, that you got to grow personally so you'll have greater success. What we have here is a bunch of motivated people taking all these courses, not getting anywhere. I love what Jim Rohn used to say. He said he didn't believe in motivation. He said motivation was the result. He said you can motivate an idiot. He said, but the best you got at the end of the day is a motivated idiot. Okay. And it's like a good motivation comes from, it's like a hot bath. Okay. It gives you a nice warm feeling and it lasts about as long. You get that feeling of being able to do your basic fundamentals on a consistent basis. That's what really comes from. And personal growth will come in the form of abundance when you're thinking in terms of it's out there. There's enough out there. What you have to do is be willing to set your mind. It starts with mindset. Personal growth starts with mindset. Mindset then leads you to the activity that you decide that you're going to take on a daily basis, 5 days a week, 7 days a week. Mindset says, I'm going to do this on a daily basis. That daily basis is lifting the weights at the gym. That's where the personal growth comes from. You can read the Millionaire Training book. You can listen to tapes. You can do all the masterminds you want. But at the end of the day, it's called you got to get to the gym and you got to lift the weights. And that's where the gold is.
Take a moment then and let's
do the work.
Yeah, let's hit on that concept, because Jim Rohn talked about his concept, I guess, of discipline and repetition. Either one of you kind of feel that how has discipline, repetition, best practices, how did you get there, and how have they changed your life?
Well, I want to digress just a little bit on the gold mine attitude, just because, so many times, because I mean, what Larry said is true, but it runs deeper for me because so many times people don't have that kind of attitude with their opportunity, with their business. And what I mean by that is Jim Rohn always says, casualness breeds casualties. What's easy to do is easy not to do. And what that means to me is not having a gold mine attitude, is realizing that there's all the gold. If I told you that you can go in this gold mine and you can go out and go in there and get as much gold as you want, and there's enough for everybody. All you got to do is be willing to go in there and dig it out. If that was shared with you, what would be your attitude? What would be your mindset around that? Would you go in? Would you go in with a teaspoon, or would you go in with a wheelbarrow? I mean, and so the mindset around your opportunity, the mindset around your product, your service, whatever you're marketing, if you don't value it and see it like that, right, then you can become very casual about what you have to offer. Whenever you're casual, casualness breeds casualties. So therefore, the mindset around those things encompass how the activity and what you do in your activity, what you do every single day. How consistent are you going to be? And that consistency and mindset around having that gold mine attitude plays in whether how far you're going to go in your business or how long you're going to last in your business.
And in the book, it's very specific about how to set that up. I mean, come on, if you have this gold mine that Taylor just described to you, and you want a shovel, or you want a teaspoon to take it out, okay, what are you going to do? If the shovels aren't on sale, okay, what are you going to do? Okay, you're going to wait till Monday till Walmart has got them on sale so you can get the shovel cheaper. Or you're going to take what you got and go get what you can get out of it. And that's what we're talking about. It all comes down to there's a half a dozen things in network marketing that you got to know, and they're all covered here, but there's a half a dozen things, and you just do them over and over again. Certainly as nutrition gets better and as equipment gets better and science gets better, it does change the body according to how Arnold would work out today. But it's minute, and it's only for those small group of people. The overall people, we got everything at our fingertips. We just got to trust ourselves and get it done.
Go ahead.
Oh, and your book. I want people to know that this book is actually sold over. Is it over 1 million copies?
Audios. There's 1 million audios sold. And this,
1 million audios sold. This is really pretty incredible. In the book, you actually talk about the 6 pillars. Do you want to take a couple of minutes and at least tell us a little bit more about that?
So whenever Larry, the Millionaire training, that was all Larry, right? And and I'm going to use the analogy of it being the vehicle, the car, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll use the analogy of it being the Lamborghini, right? But even if it was most people may not know what a Ford Pinto is, but we'll just say a Ford Pinto, right? And they're both vehicles, right? But what has to happen in order for both of those vehicles to be able to move? They have to have gas. They both have to have gas in order to move. Now, one may move faster than the other one without question, but they both have to have gas in order to move. And so that's how we equate the 6 pillars. The 6 pillars is something that we did together. And this was whenever we were actually over in Dubai. And Larry's always said, there's only a half a dozen things that you have to know to be able to have success in network marketing. And we got a question from the floor, and the question was, what are those half a dozen things? And we kind of both stood back and were like, what are those half a dozen things, right? Because we always said that, we always knew that to be true, but to actually clearly define that, we really sat down and said, okay, what are those things, and what umbrellas and the subheadings and subtitles do each one of these methodologies fall into? We'll say it that way. And this is something that we both created together. This is the gas. This is the gas in the vehicle, because when you have the principles of Millionaire training and then you add the principles of, which is the activity, this is the true application of the principles that build your business. And we'll give you an example. And it's very this
is the daily discipline. This is the actions that people take every day.
Yes. And so for one of them, like one of the pillars is what we call audience language and behavior. And what does that mean? That means that, in today's world, because we believe that the network marketing business as a whole, we're not just competing for network marketing. There's a vast array of other opportunities, such as, that ordinary people, the average person, can go out and make extra money. We'll say Uber, Lyft, Amazon, Fiverr, Etsy, all of these opportunities online that allow for the everyday average person to have to go out and make a business, to build a business that they can make that extra $500 to $1,000 a month. And we call that the gig economy. The gig economy says that before all of this crazy pandemic hit, there was 57 million people that were looking for a way to make $500 to $1,500 a month. Well, that's a big audience. Well, but what language do you speak to that audience? So, in today's network marketing world, they want to go big or go home. They talk about $10,000 a month.
And that might be a stretch for someone who's maybe just getting started, who has never made $10,000 a month. Maybe the idea of making $10,000 a month part-time just seems nearly impossible.
And it would. And if you think about when Larry shared his story,
yeah,
defaulted 10%. If you heard my story, I didn't believe that. I said, maybe I defaulted 10%, $800 a month. It's a natural, logical conclusion that we come to. But whenever somebody's touting that kind of money, they're talking the wrong language to the wrong audience.
Exactly, yes.
We have to clearly define that language to speak to the right audience, to get the right behavior so they can come to a natural, logical conclusion, whether they want to join or not join, whether they want to buy or not buy. And so that's one of the pillars that lays the foundation for this working in this climate, working in this economy that allows for the everyday person, the average person, to say, oh, that sounds simple. I think I can do that.
And that's a big part of it. I can do it. If you have that in your mind, I can do it is a huge part of it. Every single week on Imagine More Success radio show, we always bring you a free gift. This week as well. Taylor, tell us a little bit about the gift that you're offering the listeners today.
So, I said I'm at the beginning of this show that I said I'm incredibly passionate about stories and people's stories. And so there is an art to telling your story, going back to the use talk demo. And this is the talk part is a lot of times where people have a struggle. They don't know how to share their story. They don't know how to leverage their story in a way that could create an income for them. And so part of the free giveaway is me helping you, the average person that's maybe getting started. Maybe you've been around for a while. I don't know. Showing you how to leverage your story where you can build a business around telling your story, telling other people's stories with the right elements that attract people to you and attract people to your business.
So we're going to, if you want to get the free gift, text the word She Network, SHENETWORK, to 26786. Again, that's She Network to 26786. You'll be able to find that in the show notes as well. We've had a really fun time today. Thank you both, Larry and Taylor Thompson, today for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you here. If you want to check out their book, you want to go to themillionairetraining.com, where you can find the book. It's got tons of information for you. You can even sign up for their book club. We're doing some amazing training starting in January 2021. You definitely want to sign up for that. And thank you so much for joining us. We want to thank you for always listening in. If you want to listen to some past episodes, go to imaginemoresuccess.net, where you can listen to our older episodes as well as get the free gifts from each one of them. And we want to also encourage you to go to findhiddenmoney.com, where you can learn how you can begin to make more money in the business that you're currently working in. And we want to thank you and encourage you to always realize your dreams and to imagine more success.
Thank you so much for having us.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Thanks.